Look, I don't know how it happened, but somehow during the surreal days of the pandemic, some people became very convinced that NFTs, non-fungible tokens, were going to be worth millions, that owning digital art will be priceless. Well, guess what? NFTs are worthless now. You're going to hear how we got here. I'm Elamin Abdelmahmoud. This is Commotion. Listen, this may be the first and last conversation that we ever have about NFTs on Commotion. Because if you need a refresher, what I'm talking about here is like the non-fungible tokens. You probably remember them as these digital artworks that people were clamoring to buy over the pandemic. People made millions of dollars off NFTs. Celebrities were hawking them all over the place. I remember Justin Bieber was so proud to like buy this artwork of this one ape. I don't know. That's how I remember NFTs, as Justin Bieber telling me, you know what, these apes are going to be worth something. Well, that era seems to be over. A group of experts recently looked into 70,000 NFT collections and found that the vast majority were worthless. Whoops. Okay, let me give you an example. For instance, Twitter founder Jack Dorsey, he sold his first ever tweet as an NFT for almost $3 million US. That is now worth less than $4. The NFT era is like this weird and wild period of recent history. Alyssa Bereznak is here to recap what the heck happened there. Alyssa, thank you so much for being here, because I still don't get it. So I appreciate you being here.
Well, I will try my best to explain it, but some things are just confusing.
They sure are. Well, by way of explaining, Alyssa, first to explain what an NFT is, I'm not going to make you do that. We are going to defer to one of Forbes' top 50 most influential people in the NFT space. Here is Paris Hilton talking to Jimmy Fallon.
Can you explain what an NFT is?
A non-fungible token.
Non-fungible?
Yes.
Okay.
Which is basically a digital contract that's on the blockchain. So you can basically sell anything from art to music to experiences, physical objects.
I know Beeple is an artist. Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Yeah, so awesome.
And he had maybe 300 pictures in one digital picture. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was interesting. And I go, well, I could never do that, what he did. But
yeah. You could try something, maybe like sell one of your jokes or something.
I couldn't even do that to my audience tonight. Are you kidding me? I could doubt I would make money off the NFTs.
Oy, I am just cringing listening to that, because it just sounds like another universe. Alyssa, the first NFTs came out in 2014, but they really rose to prominence over the pandemic. Why? Why did they start to subtly take off? Why did everyone suddenly want to buy NFTs?
Yeah, I would say it's a confluence of a few different things. First, Silicon Valley was really looking for its next big game-changing technology. It was kind of agreed upon that the social media giants were sort of technologically in the past, and
right.
They wanted to find new ways to make money. And a lot of venture capital was flowing into blockchain. Blockchain is a technology that is central to minting an NFT. And so there was that. And then second, everyone was inside and online during the pandemic. And as a result, the digital world just became more valuable. These were collectibles like Beanie Babies or baseball cards. And a lot of people who either got rich off the crypto market or who were really immersed in online culture assigned them an enormous amount of value.
Well, we should say Paris Hilton and Jimmy Fallon were not the only celebrities endorsing NFTs. I mentioned Justin Bieber off the top. Every week there seemed to be a new celebrity talking about, collecting NFTs or selling their own. The music industry in particular got into it in a really weird way. How were musicians and celebrities cashing in on this trend, do you think?
Yeah, so I think it initially started out with influencers who are always willing to experiment with new ways to make money. Yes. Logan Paul sold some NFTs. There was this virtual influencer named Lil Miquela who experimented with them. And then musicians, like you were saying, I think that was maybe one of the more pure ways that they were used. Kings of Leon auctioned off some NFTs that basically functioned as lifelong golden tickets to the front row of their concerts.
Sure.
And someone like Reese Witherspoon, her production company actually signed a partnership with a female centric NFT line that basically securing the IP of those NFTs so they could make scripted TV shows or movies off of them. But then there was just like this whole group of celebrities who were buying them and talking about it because it was, at the center of the zeitgeist at the time.
Well, I would say like the central image of NFTs is the Bored Ape Yacht Club, which is sort of this very specific collection. Can you just talk a little bit about that club? Because that's what celebrities were so excited to keep sort of talking about.
Yeah, I mean, this was the line of NFTs that sort of became the poster organization for this craze between 2021 and 2022. They're a collection of 10,000 different digital cartoon apes created by this organization called Yuga Labs. And they were just dressed in different outfits and looking bored.
Just images of apes looking bored. Okay. All right. Yeah. Bear with you so far.
There you go. And buying one was supposedly, a ticket to an exclusive community. At their height, they cost hundreds of thousands, in some cases, millions of dollars to buy. And so you got a lot of celebrities saying they own these bored apes and promoting the NFTs. Actually, a lawsuit was filed not long after alleging those celebrities were actually being paid to promote the NFTs as a way to inflate their value. The company denies those allegations, but we'll have to wait for the resolution there because it's not really decided yet.
I mean, it's useful to say Justin Bieber allegedly paid $1.3 million for his ape. So whatever that is worth to anybody listening, his ape is not that great. Earlier, I mentioned a new report by a group of finance and blockchain experts that's called DAP Gamble. They looked at over 73,000 NFT collections. They found 95% were worthless. Can you sum up how this NFT market that was worth allegedly millions crashed so spectacularly?
The short answer is it was a bubble and it burst. Like, I think what started this decline is that so many crypto coins and funds started to crash and burn, like FTX, this infamous crypto exchange run by Sam Bankman-Fried, was suddenly under fire for fraud allegations. We were talking about Beeple earlier, or at least Jimmy Fallon was.
Yes.
And the guy who bought that NFT for that he sold for $69.3 million was actually a software engineer who made his fortune investing in Ether. So once the value of crypto went down, there were just fewer sort of crypto millionaires willing to drop a ton of money on an NFT. So I think that's when we sort of entered the winter of them.
Hang on. How much did that big NFT from Beeple sell for? Can you just repeat that number again?
$69.3 million. It's actually like in the top three amounts of money spent for art ever.
Alyssa, I can't cope with this. Like, I don't know how to cope with this information. It's beyond my comprehension. Okay, so Beeple sells this image that is a composite image of 300 different images for $69.3 million. Okay, I'm following with you so far. And then this market starts to soften, right? The market of NFTs and cryptocurrency in general started softening earlier this year. Beeple was interviewed by Bloomberg about it. Here's what he had to say.
The market it's a bit crap right now. It's a bit crap. Do I think it's going to go back to where it was? I don't know. It was pretty crazy for a second there. I definitely think it will go up from here. I think NFTs themselves do not bring any inherent value. It is very much about the ideas and the artistic practice that you bring to it. Until people are kind of like living with digital art in more of a meaningful way, the market will be mostly about speculation.
Well, admitting that it's about speculation is a mighty kind thing to do for someone who sold an NFT for $69.3 million. Alyssa, what do you think the future of digital art is? And are NFTs any part of that future?
Yeah, I don't think digital art is going away anytime soon.
No.
Like just last spring, I was at MoMA in New York and completely mesmerized by a piece by Refik Anadol. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but he used AI to transform like more than 200 years worth of art into like a moving, continuously changing video.
Wow.
And so it's like, that's digital art. But I think when we talk about like NFTs and sort of the collectibles part of it, I think definitely we're not going to be seeing any new millionaires minted anytime soon. Let's just put it that way. And yeah, it was just a crazy time where like we all just lost our minds on the internet for a bit. And now we're like, oh yeah, like it's good to have a thing that you can touch.
We got about 30 seconds left here, but when you look back on this gold rush era of NFTs, do you have any particular favorite memories that stand out?
Well, you mentioned Jack Dorsey sold his tweet. I did too, for $4 worth of Ether.
Hey, that's not bad.
Yeah, and I wonder who that person is, if they're still out there and they look at it. It's probably worth pennies on the dollar.
You sold your own first tweet?
No, it wasn't my own first tweet. It was just like I hopped on a viral trend asking, it said, express your state of mind in one photo on your camera reel. And it was like a picture of an old computer under running water.
I'm very happy that you sold your tweet. I am very happy that I hope that the market for that tweet goes up again. You know, like I would buy that for more than $4, Alyssa. In the meantime, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Alyssa Bereznak is a technology reporter at The Ringer, and she's a regular here on Commotion. I'm Elamin Abdelmahmoud. This is Commotion. Listen, for most of its history, the world of classical ballet has been very white. These days, you're likely to see more ballet dancers from diverse backgrounds on the stage, but even with that progress, years of structural racism has meant, you know what? There's still a long way to go. Cassa Pancho has made it her mission to make sure more dancers like her see a future for themselves in ballet. She founded a company called Ballet Black in London, England, when she was just 21 years old, and she had a specific mission for this company. And the mission was to only hire people from Black and Asian backgrounds. At the time, there were no women of color performing in any of the UK's ballet companies. This week, Ballet Black performs in Ottawa and then in Toronto as part of a tour called The Fall for Dance North. I talked to Cassa while she was in London, just before she got on the plane to come to Canada. I started out by asking her about growing up in England and what it felt like to be a part of dance studios where she was just a kid.
Well, I think my own personal story is different because I grew up with everyone thinking I was Spanish or Italian because I'm at the very pale end of being dual heritage. So what I realized is that I would be around people who would say things about what they thought Black bodies could and could not do in ballet because they did not know that there was somebody with Caribbean heritage right there in the room. So that is really one of the driving factors that led me to start Ballet Black.
Can I ask, what are the kinds of things that you ever heard people say in those rooms, if you don't mind going into that?
I don't mind. I just would like to preface it by saying this was 25 years ago or so.
Right. That's important context. Yes.
I think so. You know, that culturally ballet was not of interest to anyone from the Black community, which, you know, I knew in that moment not to be true because I had been enrolled in ballet. Also, Dance Theatre of Harlem in the US had existed since 1968. So, you know, plus other dancers in companies, but that's a, you know, Dance Theatre of Harlem was a big pointer to that not being true, that bodies of African descent weren't made to dance classical ballet because of the physique. And also really ridiculous things like their hair is too big to put into a ballet bun, so the dancer would not be able to turn properly. Real nonsense. And of course, all of which is untrue.
And has been now proven, you know, untrue over and over and over again by, you know, the world's most famous ballerina at this point, Misty Copeland. You know, there's something about the arrival of this moment of actually saying it was because these spaces were not built to accommodate Black people, because people, you know, 20 years ago or 25 years ago talk like that. But you decided to do something about it, right? You decide to do, at the age of 21, you've been dancing for most of your life, and then you decide to do this. Why did it feel so urgent for you to found your own company?
I think that in my final year of school, I spent a whole year writing about the lack of Black women in British ballet because you had to do a dissertation in your final year. And I wanted to interview 4 or 5 women from the UK who were in professional ballet who could tell me what their experiences had been. And there were no women. When I went out to ask the companies, they didn't exist because there hadn't been any Black women dancing at that time at a professional level. And I had to talk to American dancers. I had to talk to male dancers. And I realized that actually nothing exists where a young Black dancer, 20, 22 years ago, would not be the only Black face in the room. That was the main thing I kept hearing from people I interviewed and from parents and people that had gone into dance, but not ballet. So they'd gone into, hip hop or commercial dance or musical theater because their teachers had advised them, don't pursue ballet. There isn't a job for you there. And the main thing they said was I was the only Black person in the room. And it really started to wear on me after a while. So I wanted to start Ballet Black to create a space where the people in charge, the director, the teacher, we were all of color in some shape or form. And what does that do to the power dynamic in a studio when you are not the only one?
I'm really interested in the shift because, like the idea of, let's think about like just the historical, cultural figure, the idea of the ballerina is like so tied with childhood in a way that there are so many children who want to be ballerinas, regardless of skin color. But then that doesn't filter all the way through as you sort of think about the world of ballet. There's something that happens along the way where dancers feel, this doesn't belong to me. I don't, this is not a space that is okay for me. You founded Ballet Black. You're hiring dancers who had already been training in classical ballet, presumably environments that were predominantly white for them, because by the time they got to that point, there wouldn't have been that many people. What changes when they end up stepping into your world? How do they experience the world of ballet differently?
Well, it's something I've become more aware of recently, but what is removed are all the barriers that face a Black person in a room where they are the only one. So there's no one to talk about your hair type. If your hair is in braids or an afro or locks, it is great. We embrace all of that. The shoes and tights and costumes we use are in your skin color. Culturally, we're not making work that depicts people from different cultural backgrounds as being lesser than those from a white European background. So all of those barriers that dancers in some bigger companies can face don't exist at Ballet Black. So what you're left with is equal footing to just be an artist, which is very difficult to do on a daily basis anyway, before you add in that you feel someone is judging your hair or your skin color or your body type.
This reminds me of a conversation I had with a Black woman who's a country music singer, and country music is very dominated by white people. And when she had to attend like an award show, she said she had to drive something like 4 hours to someone who can do her hair for the award show because she would show up and no one would be prepared to do sort of Black hair. Like this is the idea here is that like is just assume that your experience is something that we're going to adjust for. So like you said, you can just be an artist. You can just focus on the art form instead of all the other things you have to sort of bring in, right?
Exactly. And I think, that story is so common in the dance world as well, that, you turn up for something and you're told to do your own hair and makeup because no one else can help you with that. And those things are starting to change, but it's been a very, very slow journey.
I'd love to play you a clip from an interview that my colleague Tom Power did. He talked to Sipe November, who's the youngest person ever to become principal dancer at the National Ballet here in Canada. Let's roll that clip.
Growing up, you didn't know of any Black African ballet dancers. Like it wasn't that doors were closed to you. You didn't even know that the doors were there to be open. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just, growing up, all the other kids had direct idols that, they could refer to as far as, inspiration, people that move like them, dance like them, come from the same background and things like this. And I didn't. And so it wasn't that it was not possible. It just meant that I had to keep going, so that somebody else can see me and be able to identify with that.
Is there a brighter future for younger Black dancers now because of the work that you and your brother have done?
I think so. I think the future is very bright. Hopefully we've inspired not only the next generation, but also the art world and the dance world to be more open to that, and hopefully for kids to see themselves walking into that light.
That's National Ballet Principal dancer Sipe November. His brother Mtutuzeli November dances with your company. And for anyone who hasn't seen them dance, they are just incredible. What kind of difference have you seen them make?
I think everything Sipe said is, resonates with exactly what we're doing over here in the UK.
Yeah.
That although he made it, he made it without that role model to look at that looks like him. What he and Mtutuzeli and all the dancers in Ballet Black and Dancer to Harlem and those Black artists are in companies around the country are, whether they realize it or not, are being that living role model and proving to any young kid that really wants to pursue ballet that there is a career pathway for them. Mm-hmm. Because I think it's also not just the child that needs that, it's their family. Because to go to ballet, you've got to go multiple times a week. Someone's got to get you shoes. They've got to drive you somewhere. They've got to feed you late at night, after the family have had dinner. There's all these other little obstacles.
The whole support crew, yeah.
The support crew. And if your parents don't think there's anything for you at the end of a grueling ballet training career, then you won't have that support to see it through to professional level.
I heard you started out the company with the goal of redundancy, right? Like the idea is like, I would like to put myself out of business in a world where, ballet becomes so diverse and so representative in the cities that it's based in that actually there wouldn't be a need for a company like yours. What do you think that looks like? What does it look like? What does that world look like in order for your job to be redundant and totally complete?
Well, I think when I said that, I didn't account for the repertoire that Ballet Black would build. So I hope that in terms of representation on stage, we would become obsolete because it would become so prevalent across the ballet companies in the UK that, it wouldn't seem like an obvious need anymore. But in that time, as I grew, because I grew up with Ballet Black, I realized it's not just dancers. You need producers, directors, choreographers, rehearsal directors, funders, people that run theaters. That needs to diversify as well to make a true change. So I think that side of what we do is still very important. And also the repertoire that we make ballets that speak to people today. Not that there's not a place for all the classics like our Swan Lakes and our Giselles, but sometimes it's great to go to the theatre and see something where you feel represented. So I think in that way, we would continue to create great work, but the racial reasons why I started the company would not be as necessary.
Cass, I can't let you go without asking about the performance that you're going to be staging here in Canada, because it's an homage to Nina Simone. It's choreographed by Mtutuzeli November. Why Nina? What drove you to Nina?
Well, Mtutu is in love with Nina Simone, has been, I think, his whole life, as have actually most members of the company. So we're just very, very excited to bring this ballet. It's a very special ballet, and we're very excited. And we're also very happy that not only do we get to perform at Full for Dance, but because Full for Dance and the National Arts Centre of Canada in Ottawa teamed up to bring us over to Canada, we're able to take our program to Ottawa as well as Toronto. So we're very excited to cover a little bit more of Canada than we initially thought. And I think I haven't seen a single audience watch this Nina ballet without rising to their feet for a standing ovation at the end.
Cassa, I hope to see you there. I'm really excited that you're on the show today. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Cassa Pancho is the founder of Ballet Black. They're performing tonight in Ottawa and in Toronto, October 6th and 7th, as part of Fall for Dance North. Listen, before I let you go, I just wanted to say, so yesterday was October 3rd, and you know the rule, right? On October 3rd, if someone asks you what day that is, you gotta say it. You gotta say, it's October 3rd. We have that rule because of a little movie called Mean Girls. You know the one, Lindsay Lohan, Rachel McAdams, Hugo Glenn Coco. Listen, every year, October 3rd is officially Mean Girls Day. But this week on Mean Girls Day, Paramount made, let's say, a vexing decision. They decided to release the entirety of Mean Girls for free on TikTok. That's right, for a whole day, for one day, you could watch one of the best teen movies of its generation in 23 TikToks. And I'm here to tell you, I hate this. I don't hate Mean Girls Day. I love Mean Girls Day. I hate the idea of watching a movie entirely on TikTok, because that's not what the platform is for. They're doing, I think, a disservice to the movie watching experience. I should say they're not the first people to do this. They didn't think of this first. There have been lots of accounts popping up that slice up whole movies into 2-3 minute clips. But even though it was for one day and the movie's no longer up on TikTok, I kind of think the endorsement of Paramount is particularly frustrating. I'm not here to tell you where to watch something. Watch it upside down on your phone for all I care, but the medium of film, the movie, is for your attention span. It's not television. It's not YouTube. It's its own thing. And it asks you, I think, to hop into the world for a little while. The length is the point. What TikTok does and what film does, there are fundamentally two different projects. So I hate this. And if you hate it, or if you like it, I want to hear from you. Elamin on Instagram or Commotion CBC for the show's Instagram. DM me. We can keep arguing about this. Anyway, that is it for the show today. I'm Elamin Abdelmahmoud. I'm going to be here tomorrow. I hope to see you then.